I was flat on my back under a school bus, elbows deep in rust and brake dust, when my phone buzzed. I figured it was another client, maybe a schedule shift. Wiped my glove on my jeans and reached for it. It was from Dara. Short message. No emotion. Just, leaving you. Me and Zach leave tomorrow. I cleared the checking. Later. I stared at it for a good 10 seconds. My hands didn't move. Tools just sat there in the dirt. That message hit like a socket wrench to the ribs, but I didn't yell or throw anything. Didn't even blink. Instead, I slid back out, stood up, and finished the job. Checked the calipers, torqued the bolts, double-checked the lines. Waved the driver out like nothing happened. My hands moved on autopilot, but inside, dead silence. Not rage. Not sadness. Just still. Once the bus rolled out, I sat on a plastic crate by the garage door. Opened my phone again. Reread the message. Then I typed out one thing. Take care. Hit send. That was it. My name's Joe. I'm 39 years old. Run a small HVAC repair business in Evansville, Indiana. Been doing it about 12 years. Married Dara 14 years ago. We were one of those couples people thought were solid. On the outside, we looked fine. Always showed up to things together, cracked jokes, played nice at barbecues. But now, looking back, the signs were stacked up like bad insulation. Lately, she kept her phone flipped face down on the table. Had passwords she didn't used to. Started saying she had evening training calls and monthly staff hangouts. One night, she came home late smelling like coconut lotion and wine, and I asked how the finance webinar was. She said, "So boring I almost died. I should have pushed harder. But I didn't." And then there was Zach, her intern. I met him once at some work mixer. Slick haircut, too chatty, asked too many personal questions. Wore skinny jeans and loafers without socks like he thought he was in a magazine shoot. I remember shaking his hand and thinking, this kid's harmless. Turns out I was wrong. Real wrong. Quick note. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. After I closed the garage that day, I drove home and made dinner like I always did. Didn't ask where Dara was. Didn't look for her car in the driveway. She was probably out with him, spending what she drained from the account. I just grilled 2 steaks. Ate one. Put the other in the fridge. Didn't sleep much that night. Just stared at the ceiling, waiting for the sun to come up. 3 months before she dropped that message, I was cleaning out the front seat of her car like I always did on Saturdays. Dara hated clutter. Left a mess, but wanted it spotless again by Monday. There was an empty iced coffee cup wedged under the seat, a receipt stuck to the side. I peeled it off, ready to trash it. Then I looked closer. Fondue. Someplace downtown. Fancy joint. Dated for the previous Thursday night. She told me she had a Zoom webinar for work. Even showed me the little calendar invite on her phone. I remember she locked herself in the guest room for quiet. Said she needed the space. That was the moment. Not when I saw the receipt. When I remembered she lied straight to my face while eating melted cheese with another man. I folded that receipt and stuck it in the glove box. Drove straight to a branch an hour outside town, over in Bloomington, and opened a new account under my middle name. Moved most of our savings. Not all, just enough to not set off alarms. The next week, Dara brought it up over dinner. We should merge our accounts again. Would make things easier. I smiled, played dumb. Sure, maybe next month. Just gotta sort a few things with payroll first. That was when I started logging everything. Had a spreadsheet with tabs, dates, charges, screenshots. Spa visits that didn't match her stories. Dinners at places I'd never heard of. Ubers with pickup and drop-off spots across town from where she said she was. She'd say, just going to Emily's house for wine and event sesh. Then the receipt would show sushi in Louisville. I stopped listening to her explanations. Just nodded. Saved the receipts. Once, I grabbed her hoodie from the bathroom floor, was throwing laundry in before bed, caught a strong whiff of cologne. Not mine. And there was a smudge of lipstick on the collar. It was too dark, almost black. Dara wore peaches and corals. She wasn't the type to experiment. Not unless she was trying to impress someone else. I folded the hoodie and stuck it in the back of the linen closet. Took a picture first. Labeled it hoodie, February 12th. We still had dinner together most nights. She scrolled her phone while I talked about work. I stopped trying to be interesting. She stopped pretending to care. One time I caught her taking a mirror selfie while I was telling her about a customer who nearly set his own attic on fire with a portable heater. I said, "You hear a word I just said?" She didn't even look up. Just said, "Aha, fire. Got it." I kept quiet. The less I said, the more she underestimated me. A couple weeks later, I saw a notification pop up on her phone. "Zach Red Heart dinner Thursday?" She swiped it away like it was spam. I didn't flinch. Just asked if she wanted sweet tea or Coke with dinner. Zach, that smug little intern. Clicked fast. Every gym membership, every eyebrow wax, every overnight trip. It all lined up. I didn't even feel mad anymore. Just focused. I started sleeping in the guest room. Claimed I was waking too early and didn't want to disturb her. She barely blinked. Just said, "Cool," and went back to whatever Instagram reel had her hypnotized. Sometimes I caught her smiling at her screen. You know, the kind, bottom lip curled under, eyes soft. But never when she looked at me. I downloaded an app that pulled all our account activity into one place and set alerts. Every time she swiped that card, I got a ping. Felt dirty but necessary. Like checking for termites before the house collapses. She kept lying. I kept documenting. One Friday, she came home tipsy, laughing too hard. "We did karaoke at the hotel bar," she said, tossing her purse on the couch. It was such a dumb corporate retreat. Saturday morning, I pulled her receipts again. No karaoke bar. No hotel. Just a jewelry store charge and a room service receipt with 2 entrees and champagne. I printed them both. Stapled them together. Added it to the folder labeled proof. Let her keep digging her own grave. I just made sure the ground was ready underneath. It didn't take long for her tone to shift. She still acted polite in public, still posted our couple photos like nothing was off, but behind closed doors she got snappier. Condescending. Like everything I said bored her. Like she was already somewhere else in her head and I was background noise. One night I told her the truck finally needed a new compressor, and she laughed into her wine glass and said, "Your precious business will bury you before I do." That one stuck. Next morning, I emptied the closet space in the office I'd converted from the guest room. Moved her yoga mats and spare heels into the basement. Folded her spare cardigans into a tote. Didn't ask, didn't explain. She never mentioned it. Just stopped going in there. She started taking longer showers. Late ones. I'd hear her come home around midnight, smell the hotel shampoo on her hair. She never looked at me walking past the living room. Just mumbled training went late and disappeared. She had overnight team-building trips every other weekend. No suitcase, just a tote and her laptop. I stopped asking questions. I already knew where the money was going. Then one Tuesday afternoon my phone pinged. $1,312. 64. Joint debit, Sunridge Travel and Resort. I stared at the screen for maybe 5 seconds. No hesitation this time. I wiped my hands, locked up the shop early, and called Greg from the truck. Greg was my lawyer. Mid-50s, sharp voice, zero fluff. I'd gone to high school with his cousin. First time we talked, he asked 3 questions and then said, "You're not crazy. She's just bad at hiding it." That day he kept it short. "Don't confront her. Let her go first. You'll win this by silence." I said, "You sure?" He said, "The law loves a calm man with a folder." That's when I named the folder on my desktop. Proof. Made backup copies on 2 flash drives. One in my toolbox, one taped behind the filing cabinet. I kept working like nothing changed. Serviced rooftop units, changed filters, answered calls like always. Came home, reheated leftovers, and updated the folder. Receipts, Uber logs, GPS pings, bank screenshots, all labeled and time-stamped. At home, I stopped reacting altogether. No questions. No checking where she was going. I let her paint the story she wanted to believe. One night she got bold. She walked in around 2 a.m., heels in hand, giggling on the phone. Didn't even flinch when she saw me sitting at the kitchen table. Just rolled her eyes and whispered, "He's still up," like I was the maid she forgot to warn. Next morning, she made coffee and asked if I wanted to do a weekend away sometime soon. Just the two of us. I nodded, said I'd check my schedule. She smiled like a cat. She thought I was still hooked, still playing house. But every word she said now hit me like bad insulation. Itchy, full of fiberglass and just waiting to cut skin. I watched her curl her hair in the mornings with more care than she ever gave to anything I said. I watched her take selfies with that weird tilt like she wanted to look younger, thinner, someone else entirely. She wasn't preparing for a clean break. She was planning a reinvention. But me? I was loading ammo. Legal ammo. Greg said the courts liked facts, not feelings. So I didn't give her feelings anymore. I gave her space. Let her dig deeper. Let her text Zach from our couch. Let her gaslight me about work trips. Let her think she'd already won. Every lie she told was just another line in a file she didn't know existed. And every night after she passed out, I plugged in my flash drive, clicked Save As, and made sure the evidence lived in more than one place. Quiet war. No warning shots. Just the calm before the hit. A couple nights later, my phone buzzed again. "Don't make a scene. I'll swing by for my things." That was it. No, please. No apology. Not even a lie to soften the landing. Just a cold warning like I was some random landlord. I didn't answer. Just turned the phone face down on the bench next to me and kept sanding a busted blower cover from a rooftop unit I was refurbishing. My shop radio was playing some old Skinner track low in the background. Around 9 p.m., I heard tires crunch the gravel in the driveway. No headlights. I peeked through the narrow garage window, rented silver Nissan, maybe a Sentra. She always hated sedans. Said they looked basic. Guess that matched the company she was keeping now. She got out quiet, looking both ways like she was sneaking out of a crime scene. 2 bags, maybe 3. Not even real luggage, just duffels and one of those ugly tote bags she swore she'd never carry. I stayed put, hands covered in rust and dust, work gloves half off, crouched beside the old thermostat I was rewiring. I didn't even breathe heavy. She popped the trunk, shoved her bags in fast, slammed it harder than necessary. Then she just stood there, looked up at the house like it owed her something, like I was supposed to come running out, beg her to stay 'cause a scene. I didn't move. She couldn't see me in the garage, but I was only 15 feet from her, just watching. She lingered for another minute, arms crossed, like she was waiting for her movie moment. Maybe she thought I'd chase her down the driveway. Maybe she thought I was dumb enough to fight for someone who'd already checked out months ago. She didn't get either. She climbed back in, slammed the door, and drove off. No wave, no horn, just tail lights slipping down the block until they were gone. I stayed crouched in the garage and finished the wiring. Took my time. Every wire, every screw, felt sharper, more solid. Once the job was done, I stood up, cracked my back, and wiped my hands on a rag. Walked over to the old desktop I kept in the corner, plugged in the flash drive, and opened the folder one last time. Final set, the travel charges, the Uber logs, the photos. Added the timestamps. All labeled, all clean. Attached the folder to an email titled, "Final. Submit." Sent it to Greg. Then I texted him, "Time to file." 2 minutes later, he replied, "Already done." No extra words. No pep talk. Just action. Just like I wanted. I shut down the computer, stood there in the quiet for a second. No tears. No flashbacks. Just quiet. Grabbed a cold Coke from the mini fridge, cracked it open, and leaned back in the metal shop chair. My knuckles were scraped from rewiring, and I didn't care. Felt earned. Out in the driveway, the gravel had already settled. No sign she'd ever been there. Inside the house, her mug was still by the sink. Lipstick stain on the rim. I didn't move it. Not yet. I spent months playing it calm, staying small. But the second she pulled away in that rental, I knew I wasn't the one who lost. She just made her exit, and I just filed for war. Thursday morning, I walked into my bank wearing the same work boots I'd had on since 6. No appointment, no smile, just facts. I gave the manager a copy of the joint account activity, flights, resort, car rental, all booked in her name, but the account, tied only to mine. He scanned the papers, raised an eyebrow and said, "This wasn't authorized by you?" I said, "Not even close." He flagged every transaction under fraud, started the reversal process on the spot, said it might take 48 hours, but they'd freeze the travel company payouts first. "Anything else?" he asked. I nodded. "Lock the debit card and send a new one. Overnight." By noon, my phone lit up with a rage text. "They canceled everything." "What the hell, Joe?" I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, another, "We're stuck here, Joe. You think this is funny?" Then silence. At 2 p.m., her mom called. I let it ring, then picked up on the fourth. She didn't waste time. "I can't believe you do this to her. She's finally trying to start fresh, and you pull a stunt like this?" I stood outside the shop, leaned against the wall, and kept my voice calm. "She stole money, lied, took my name and used it to run off with her intern. That's not a fresh start. That's fraud." There was a long pause, a couple shaky breaths on her end. She didn't hang up, didn't apologize either, just said, "This isn't what she told us." I said, "Yeah, I bet." Then I hung up first. Friday was quiet until it wasn't. Around 9 a.m., my phone blew up. Dara again. Back-to-back texts like machine gun fire. "We had plans. This is childish, Joe. Grow the hell up. You always have to make it difficult." Still didn't answer, but I forwarded everything to Greg. That weekend, her sister Amanda, who always tried to act like some motivational guru, posted one of those nauseating quotes on Facebook. White background, pink cursive. "Choosing happiness isn't betrayal. It's survival." Underneath it, her caption said, "So proud of my brave sister for finally putting herself first." Except people knew the real story now. My buddy Connor shared the court filing link in the comments. His wife added a screenshot of the resort booking with Dara's name on it. One of my clients even chimed in, "Guess emotional growth includes identity theft now?" By Saturday night, Amanda deleted the post. By Sunday morning, her account was private. I was back in the garage when Greg called. He didn't waste time. Judge moved the hearing up, got the full packet and flagged it. I wiped my hands on a rag and leaned on the workbench. "What's that mean for us?" Greg's voice was cool as ever. "It means he doesn't like mid-marriage escapes with stolen funds. Wants this done fast. We're in Monday." I said, "Good." He said, "Let her keep spiraling. She's making our case for us." After I hung up, I went inside and opened a fresh manila folder. Wrote the new date across the tab. That night, I didn't get any more texts from Dara. No calls, just dead air. But I knew what silence meant now. She was finally realizing she'd miscalculated. And I was done playing nice. Monday morning came quick. I showed up clean-shaven, collared shirt, boots polished. Not dressed to impress, just to be taken seriously. Greg was already waiting by the courtroom doors, calm as ever, holding a hard-shell briefcase that probably had more damage in it than Dara could handle. Dara showed up 10 minutes late, wearing 4-inch heels and some white blazer dress like she thought it was a red carpet event. Big fake smile, full makeup, oversized sunglasses she didn't take off until the bailiff told her to, and Zach, hovering just outside like a lost puppy. He wasn't allowed in, but he paced the hallway, checking his phone like someone might mistake him for important. I didn't say a word, just sat down next to Greg, kept my back straight and hands folded. When the judge came in, everyone stood. He was mid-60s, tired eyes, gray hair, no patience for theatrics. Dara's lawyer stood first. Young guy, slick suit, all charm, zero weight behind his words. "Your Honor, my client has endured years of emotional neglect. She was isolated, unsupported, and belittled in a marriage where she was more accessory than partner. The judge didn't blink. Specifics? He asked. The guy fumbled a little, glanced at Dara, then said, she wasn't allowed access to certain funds, and when she attempted to establish independence, her husband retaliated financially. Greg stood up slow, opened the briefcase, laid out 6 labeled folders like he was serving a cold meal. Texts, bank statements, travel logs, account history, purchase receipts, and timeline. All indexed, Your Honor. You'll see Dara had full access to their finances until she drained the joint account for a personal getaway. Joe didn't respond in kind. He documented everything and followed protocol. The judge leaned forward, flipping through the top folder, then looked at Dara. Is it true you used funds from a joint account tied only to his name? Dara shifted in her seat. I thought it was ours. We were married. Were you authorized to use it for travel with a non-spouse companion? Silence. He moved on. Now, about the business. You're requesting half the HVAC company? Her lawyer jumped in again. She was a supportive spouse throughout its development. Marriage entitles her to shared assets. And, Greg interrupted, calm but firm. Joe started the business in 2006. They married in 2008. It's been filed separately under his name since day one. Tax records and incorporation documents are in folder 4. The judge glanced at Dara. Have you ever worked at the HVAC business? Helped with clients, payroll, field work? Dara straightened up. Not directly, but I supported him emotionally. I stood by him, encouraged him. That has to count for something. The judge didn't even blink. Support doesn't entitle you to ownership. Her face flushed. She looked like she wanted to scream but didn't know where to aim it. He flipped through the pages one more time, then spoke clearly. The court finds no legal basis for joint ownership of the business. Assets remain in Joe's possession. Dara's lawyer tried again. What about compensation for her sacrifices? Emotional labor? The judge didn't even pretend to consider it. She's not a co-owner. She's not an employee. There is no contract, verbal or otherwise. Then he turned to Greg. The travel charges. Can we confirm they were unauthorized? Greg handed over the bank affidavit and fraud reversal confirmation. Already reversed, but Joe is still down several hundred in non-refundable fees. We're asking for repayment and temporary asset freeze. Granted, the judge said without missing a beat. Funds will be frozen until full review is completed. Repayment schedule will be set within 30 days. Dara exhaled hard, whispered something to her lawyer, then glared at me like I just ruined her life. But I didn't smile, didn't gloat, just met her eyes like a man watching someone realize they'd been bluffing with no cards. The judge wrapped it fast. Next hearing set for 60 days. In the meantime, no financial activity without written consent from both parties. We're done here. As we walked out, Zach stood up from the bench and gave Dara this dumb little nod like, You okay, babe? She ignored him, didn't say a word. Greg and I walked past them like they were furniture. Once we hit the sidewalk, he turned to me. That, he said, was clean, real clean. I nodded. Didn't need a win parade. I had the only verdict I cared about. Everything I built, still mine. Everything she lied about, on record. Dara vanished after the hearing. No texts, no calls. Not a peep on social. For about a week, it was like she'd dropped off the planet. Then one of her old co-workers, Melissa, stopped by the shop for a tune-up on her mini-split. She leaned over the counter, lowered her voice and said, So, she's living in Mandy's guest room. Mandy, the Pilates friend. Rich parents, big house, the type who calls every dog baby. She and Zach showed up with 3 bags and no money, Melissa added. Apparently his credit's trash, like eviction level bad. I didn't say anything, just handed her her receipt and told her I'd call when the part came in. Couple days later, more stories started trickling in. Dara had maxed out Zach's 1 credit card trying to fund the trip. Ubered everywhere, 8-room service, posted like she was on a honeymoon. Now they were sharing a twin bed in a guest room with flamingo wallpaper. That's when the text started. First one came in at midnight on a Thursday. You ruined everything. Next night, we should talk. Then, you think you're better than me now? I didn't reply, just screenshot each one, forwarded them to Greg, and blocked the number again. It didn't stop her. She used a different number 2 days later. This time it was almost pitiful. Can we meet for coffee? I think we both need closure. I sent that to Greg too. He replied back, she's spiraling. Stay silent. A week later, Amanda, her sister, showed up at the shop around lunch. She looked worn down, like someone who hadn't slept right in a while. I stepped out from the service bay, wiping my hands on a rag. She looked at me and said, I didn't know about everything. She told us you were emotionally abusive. That landed like a slap, even though I half expected it. She said you controlled everything, said you didn't let her grow, that you belittled her every day. I didn't say a word, just looked her dead in the eye. Amanda shook her head. I believed her, until the court stuff came out, until Melissa told us about the card and the resort, until I saw the texts. Then she added, quiet, the family's done. My mom blocked her number last night. I nodded once, went back inside. That weekend I hired a part-timer kid named Hunter. Early 20s, quick learner. Needed a second chance after getting fired from AutoZone for arguing with the manager. Didn't bother me. He worked hard, showed up early, kept his mouth shut unless it mattered. Business was growing. Word had gotten around about what happened. Not from me, but from the documents, the screenshots, the court dates. Customers started saying things like, heard you handled yourself real professional, or you stayed quiet through a storm. Most guys would have lost it. I'd just say, appreciate it, and get back to work. Didn't need applause, just needed my peace. And now, finally, I had it. By midsummer, folks around Evansville started noticing. Not just the business growing or the new truck I'd parked out front, but how I handled things. No big Facebook rants, no trash talking, no poor me sob stories. I just worked, kept my head down, and let the facts do what they do. People respected that. The phones rang more. Neighbors started referring neighbors. Old customers I hadn't heard from in years came back with bigger jobs. Then this local reporter, Kristen something, came by the shop. Said she was doing a story on small businesses bouncing back after tough personal years. I've heard your name a lot lately, she said. Mind if we chat for a few? I wiped my hands, invited her inside, and gave her the basics. How I started the shop in '06 with a rusty van and a beat-up toolkit. How I rebuilt it twice without loans. How I kept showing up no matter what. She asked what kept me steady through the storm. Accountability, I told her. You either own your choices or they own you. She smiled, scribbled that one down. A week later, the article came out. My photo was right there, front page of the local section. Standing in front of the shop sign, arms crossed, no fake grin, just real. I got maybe 30 calls that day alone. People just wanted work done by someone who didn't fold under pressure. That afternoon, some kid, couldn't have been older than 22, came in asking about HVAC apprenticeship stuff. He looked nervous. Before he left, he said, Hey, can I ask something personal? I nodded. Do you think marriage and business can mix? My girlfriend wants to join my landscaping company full-time, but I don't know. I gave it to him straight. Don't tie your accounts to anyone you wouldn't trust with your car keys. If you'd hesitate to hand him the keys to your truck, don't hand him your name either. He laughed a little, but I could tell he got it. Later that week, someone spotted Zach at the gas station off Morgan. Said he looked rough, baggy sweats, sunken eyes, filling his tank with quarters and dimes. No eye contact, just focused on counting change like his life depended on it. I didn't react when I heard, just nodded and got back to work. Dara tried dating again. Word travels fast in towns like this. First guy bailed after someone sent him a link to the court filing. Second guy lasted 2 dates. Gone when he figured out she didn't have a job or an apartment. Last I heard, she was renting a room above someone's garage on the west side. No kitchen, shared bathroom, and walls so thin you could hear the neighbors argue about frozen pizzas. Fitting, honestly. not out of spite, but because it matched the life she built for herself. Meanwhile, I was setting up the second van. Hired Hunter full-time, added weekend hours. Things were steady, simple, solid. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for the floor to cave in. A few weeks after we wrapped up the last install of the summer, I had one of Dara's old texts printed and framed. "At least your little business will keep you company." 12 words. That's all. I hung it right above the filing cabinet in my office, centered over the monthly profit tracker where the red bars kept climbing, taller every month. That wall said more about me than anything she ever did. By fall, the second shop was open. Bigger lot, better visibility, fresh paint, full crew. We cut the ribbon on a windy October morning. My guys clapped. I didn't say much, just thanked them and went back to work. 3 days later, Amanda walked in, Dara's sister. She stood just inside the shop, hands tucked in her sleeves like a kid waiting to be scolded. "I just wanted to say sorry," she said. We all believed her, every word. I nodded, didn't rub it in. No point. She looked at the framed text on the wall and gave a half-smile. "Guess the business kept you more than company." "Yeah," I said. "It did." She didn't stay long. Just left a small tin of cookies on the counter and backed out like the air was too heavy for her. Every couple months since then, Dara still found a way to sneak past the block list and text me from some new number. Last one said, "Maybe we just lost our way." No anger, no lies, just that. I didn't reply. That part of my life was done. Shut tight like a sealed vent, locked and caulked. I didn't need closure. I had proof. Not just the folders Greg filed, not just the frozen accounts or the court transcript, real proof. Proof on the wall. Proof in the numbers. Proof in the second location and the crew that stuck with me. She tried to burn it down. I rebuilt it better. There was no revenge left to chase. No ego left to patch up. Just steady airflow. Clean lines. Solid work. I'd earned my quiet. And I wasn't giving it up for anyone.